I'm delighted to welcome Sue Hitzmann as our guest speaker. She's the creator of the MELT method, which is a simple self-treatment technique that helps people get out and stay out of chronic pain. So anybody can use it. It's not just for therapists. And for this reason, her book about the MELT method has helped over 200,000 people around the world to lead a healthy, pain-free life. I think we've been looking forward to this lecture for a long time. Sue is going to talk about breaking the pain cycle. So please give a very warm round of applause for Sue Hitzmann. Thank you.
So my topic today is breaking the pain cycle. And as a manual therapist, I have had this great knack of getting people out of chronic pain in a private practice. And I had been treating people for a lot of years. And one day, one of my clients said to me, if you could just invent a way for me to do to myself what you do with your magic hands, I'd stay out of your office altogether. And I thought, well, I mean, if I came up with that, I'd be unemployed. I don't know if that's a good idea, but it did sound like a good idea. So in the late 90s, I started to develop what I was calling hands-off body work. And I started sharing it with my clients.
And in America, I don't know how you guys treat it here, but in America, there's more people now addicted to opiates because of chronic pain. It's an epidemic. And I just want to help people stop it. So with the MELT method, when I started giving this to my private clients and saw them getting better, I thought, I think I could explain this. I think I could simplify myself down and explain this to the general public. There's 3 components that everybody should know about to maintain a healthy, active, pain-free lifestyle. Most people think if they just eat right and they exercise and they do all the right things, they'll maintain an active lifestyle. But like I said, lots of people eat right and exercise and do all the right things, and they still have chronic pain too. So there's something missing. And the problem is that to really understand how to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, you need to know a little bit about how to sustain the health of your nervous system. You also need to understand how the body produces, utilizes, and maintains chemical and hormonal balance, which includes metabolism. We know that that goes right to the junker as you get older, right? We all get bloated and fat, and our hair goes gray, or we lose it, or whatever. And then we get grumpy, we're mean to people. There's quality and integrity of the connective tissue system. It's a really important system to know, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. You just saw how important it was. Gil just painted such a big picture of connective tissue. I'm going to try to even give you a bigger picture to explain how connective tissue can actually alter your nervous system's ability to keep you stable and to function efficiently. And so the physiology of pain is what I have been studying for the past 2 decades. So what I'm going to try to do in 1 hour is explain to you what I call the pain cycle. Like, how is pain actually produced? How is connective tissue relevant in eliminating pain? And then what's the cycle, what's the cascade of hell that occurs in your body to make it chronic? So here's the thing about pain. Here's some simple things. We all get into pain for lots of reasons, right? Accidents, illness, injuries, surgeries. Even, I always say, even heartbreak and the flu can send pain signals to your body that something's wrong. And in fact, when your brain produces this sense of pain, it's a good thing. It's your body's way of telling you something's wrong. And what I'll simplify this down to is there's usually, like traditionally, let's just go baseline, there's 2 types of pain, right? There's acute, and then there's chronic. So let's just get this out of the way. That acute pain is like, everybody knows what acute pain is, right? You cut yourself, you fall down a flight of stairs, you get hit with a bat, you get hit by a bus. But then chronic pain, on the other side of the pond, there's chronic pain. And chronic pain, traditionally, is said to be produced from disease. It's anything that's lasting more than 6 weeks, or it's reoccurring at least 4 times a year, and it tends to increase in pain over time. That's what chronic pain is. Here's the problem, is that there's this big gray area between these 2 things that I call sudden chronic pain. And the problem with sudden chronic pain is we've all experienced this, but it's where you do something and it's not a trauma. It's not something big. You bent over to pick up a pencil and your back went out. You woke up in the morning and your neck hurt, right? And those things are not caused by acute trauma, but they feel really acute. And if you go to the doctor and you say, I bent over and I picked up a pencil, my back went out, or I woke up this morning and my neck hurt, the problem is that the doctor is going to treat it the same way as they did acute pain, and it's not an acute problem. That daily living, just your normal living, is actually what's causing an issue in the connective tissue, and the issue is cellular dehydration. So connective tissue, again, is a fluid-based architectural matrix. It is a fluid-flowing system, and daily living causes this catapult of cellular dehydration. In fact, it's a natural cellular process that's occurring to every single one of us every single day, regardless of your age, your activity level, your fitness, or your nutrition. It's just happening. And even if you don't have pain, I'll guarantee that you are on the pain cycle, because we've all experienced something I'm going to call a pre-pain symptom. You've all experienced connective tissue dehydration, so I'm going to point it out. Have you ever sat for long periods of time and you get up and your joints feel a little stiff or achy? Or you wake up in the morning and you kind of walk a little funny for the first few steps. You kind of straighten yourself up and then you get going? Have we all experienced this? Yes. And what's the problem with this? Is you get up and you start moving around and what happens? It goes away. It goes away. Just how Gil, when he did the fuzz speech, he was telling you got to move. Once you start to move, you kind of juice up your body, right? Well, that's a problem, though, is because it goes away, we never do anything about it. But it is the problem. So if you think of connective tissue like a river, it's a fluid-flowing system. It's in a constant state of action. It's in a constant state of flow. But daily living, it's kind of like daily living is causing sediment to lay down in your river. And the problem with the sediment is it starts to accumulate. And once it starts to accumulate, it starts causing more problems around other regions of your body. And again, this is in the absence of any injury or anything. You don't even have to have an injury and this is occurring. So you're getting more symptoms. Your joints are kind of hurting you all the time. Your posture is declining. Your joints, you're always like, oh, you're always making sounds when you move. Your neck and your low back are kind of always a little stiff. You're always kind of, having hesitation to move your head. Your rings don't fit on your finger. Your feet feel fat in your shoes. Your hair is dry. Your skin is dry. You look a little lackluster. You don't consider those things pain, but those are pre-pain symptoms that you've got this issue in your connective tissue. And if you still don't do anything about it, that's a bigger problem, because if connective tissue becomes cellularly dehydrated, your nervous system is actually going to pay a price. So when I was talking to my clients about this, and I started trying to explain their issue in their connective tissue, they didn't understand what I said when I said connective tissue dehydration, because that was cellular. So I just started saying, this is my layman's way, you got stuck stress. You got a whole bunch of stuck stress in your body, and people are like, I do have stuck stress. It's my husband. I can't get rid of him. I said, you have stuck stress in your body and outside of your body. Living is stressful, right? So there's that word stress. And the problem with this stress, as it continues to accumulate, if you're like people whose joints kind of bother them and they say it's normal, a bigger problem occurs, because now you start getting more pre-pain symptoms that seem completely unrelated to connective tissue issues. All of a sudden, you're kind of feeling tired in the middle of the day. You feel like you got to take caffeine around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Are some of you guys in that part of the pain cycle? Yeah. But then the thing is, at night, you try to fall asleep, for exhausted as you feel in the day, you can't fall asleep. And then in the middle of the night, you're getting up in the middle of the night to do something. What are you doing? You're peeing. Not once, but twice. Is this sounding familiar to anybody? You are way down the rabbit hole of chronic pain if you don't already have it. It's right around the corner. It's probably already there. But these are bigger things, because the thing that you need to understand is that the nervous system is very reliant on the integrity of the environment of connective tissue, because found in your connective tissue are billions of sensory nerve endings, and they tend to cluster around your joints. And so if the joints are full of stuck stress, your nervous system is losing its ability to find out where your arms and legs are when you move. And that's what's exhausting you. Your body is starting to work harder and harder just to maintain upright posture, let alone movement. And now what you feel is like you need to work harder. You're exercising harder. You're exercising longer. You're changing your diet. Now you're not eating anything but rice cakes. You can't eat anything, but you're starving all the time, but nothing is helping. Remember, cellular repair is only really dominant when we're sleeping. And again, if you're not falling asleep or staying asleep, you're waking up the next day with that cycle not ever going back to balance, because in the morning you're supposed to wake up and kind of be back to here, and we're not. We kind of live in this state. And so when stress is consistently outweighing our body's ability to rest and repair, we live in this angled state all the time, and it's just one thing. It's bending over to pick up a pencil. It's the fight with your boyfriends. It's the I want a divorce from your wife. It's the I can't stand trying to get my child into school because it's too expensive. I don't have enough money. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this. And now you have chronic fatigue. And what the research that I'm really fascinated with is that they are finding a link in with the nervous system and the immune systems. We kind of know they're connected, and one of the primary connectors is something called cytokines. And cytokines are a group of proteins that shield our bodies from disease and respond to tissue injury by promoting inflammation. Now, sometimes that's a good thing. Like when you weight train really hard and your muscles like get really fatigued, that's a good time for the cytokine response to come down, lay down some new proteins, get the muscles, to repair it. That's good. But this is actually happening in people who are like, just sitting at a desk working on their computers. They're not lifting 150 pounds. So the cytokines are found in the nervous system, but they're also a part of your immune system. And what the bummer is that we're starting to recognize is a lot of people are getting this inflammatory response because their stress is always high, but it's in the absence of injury or tissue damage. You go to the doctor and they get MRIs and x-rays, there's nothing wrong with you. They find no disc damage. They're like, I don't know what's wrong with you, you're depressed. So if the bigger bummer is if cytokine levels rise in the brain or the area of damage, pain symptoms are going to be present. It's one of the key factors of pain. Wow. And so again, the ultimate outcome was to restore health, efficiency, and stability to my client. And so I wanted to figure out a way to explain to them the nervous system, the chemical and hormonal balances, their gut, and the connective tissue in a simplified way. And I did it. I did it. I got a New York Times best-selling book, and I've helped 200,000 people around the world now. And I'm damn it if I'm not going to help millions of people. I'm like on a freaking mission to get people out of taking those damn pain medications. I said, then I've got something for you. I call it the 4 R's of melt. If you want to help yourself get out of pain, you got to reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, and release your system. So the thing about reconnect techniques are assessment techniques. Here's the problem for most of our clients is that most of us are really good at assessing what we feel, and I feel the gluteus maximus on this side's a little too tight and this one's a little too weak, or you have a hip instability on this side. It's great that you get it, but if you want to get somebody out of pain, they got to get it. And you can't explain it to them in muscles or bones or things like that. You have to be able to explain to people where stuck stress is living in their body, not focus on where they have pain. And here's the good news, is once you start to identify what connective tissue dehydration feels like and where it's accumulated, it gets people to stop focusing on their pain, which is part of changing their relationship with it. The second thing you need to do is you need to know how to quiet the stress reflex in the nervous system. And the best doorway into the stress reflex is either by grounding a body with the foot treatment or doing a neurological technique, which is the rebalance sequence. I teach people how to just quiet the stress reflex through restoring dynamics of the diaphragm. The third thing is to rehydrate. So what you have to learn how to do is glide, shear, and rinse. And I've used language as a hands-on body worker to explain gliding is a preparatory technique. If you glide tissue, even what Gil was showing you, if the tissue glides, it's just a preparatory technique. It's just a way to investigate tissue and kind of walk in and say hello without going change, right? Just kind of go, what's up? All right, nice. That's gliding, right? So if all you do is iron yourself back and forth, you're kind of preparing the tissue, but you aren't really making much change. There's another thing called the shear force. Shearing you can either do directly or indirectly. We all do it with our hands most likely. So a direct shear would be me applying force and me creating shear, or me compressing and moving somebody's wrist is an indirect shear. They're actively contracting muscle against my compression and improving the sliding surfaces of fluid around that area. Are we all clear on that one? And then there's rinsing. Rinsing is a one-directional global technique. It's a way to draw fluid throughout the entire connective tissue matrix. You can also create dynamic fluid flow by improving tensional energy. And it's different than stretching. Like when you stretch a muscle, you're going after the belly, you're going after one isolated area. Whereas when you're lengthening connective tissue, it's a much more long, fuzzy tensional pull. I love Tom Meyer's lines. I love that model. Remember, it's a model. The lines don't exist. There is no spoon. There's no spoon. There's no lines. It's all one big thing, right? But we like to cut stuff up to explain it. But those myofascial lines do have integrity and continuity. So if you can learn to harness those lines and you draw tension slowly and you don't get too much effect to the muscle and then you let it go, you can actually get the global fill effect and the fluid will move that way. I can find that one too. And then the last thing I teach people how to do is release. I teach people how to release the primary joints of their neck, hands, low back, and their feet. Because these are the areas that we use the most and they're the most abused, and we need to learn how to mobilize those joints and restore the fluid flow, because remember, found in all of your joints are quadrillions of little nerve endings that your nervous system is reliant upon to know where your joints are at when you move. So these are important aspects of it entirely. Yeah? So that's what I have to tell you guys. So I hope that what you're hearing from me, if anything, is that pain does not have to become chronic. You can help your body and you can help your clients. And clients don't need to be reliant on only you, because you should be able to go on vacation too. So if you give them something that they can do at home, you can have a real life and have happiness and joy and not spend all of your time in your offices helping people, but helping them outside of your office, I think, is far more valuable. So thank you. I know we don't have time for questions.